So, welcome to another lovely episode of Let's Talk Public Health. Today with me is the beautiful founder of Avant-Garde. Her name is Oluchi. I don't want to play myself with your surname. Ihehuna.
What?
I played
fine.
myself. I played myself. Just random. What does that mean? What does your surname mean?
So I think it's a short form. And I remember my father telling me that it meant the most important thing in the family is the child. But
What?
it's shortened.
Okay.
So the child is the most valuable, most important thing in the family.
Oh God, I don't want to know what the long.
But that's what my father told me.
No, I know, but like the long word of it.
Ihe kunawa. I think that's what he told me.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad you still remember. But then again, I'm very grateful that you decided to join us on today's show, this episode. I mean, I've seen your work. I've met you a couple of times and you are so amazing. So I'll start first by asking the question to describe what you mean. I've heard you a couple of times, say the word, I'm a physiotherapist with a soothing essence. Please let us know, what does this mean? Tell us, why do you describe yourself in such a manner?
Thank you for having me. So maybe I should give you maybe I should share a story with you.
Okay, sure. I'm up for stories, please. Can someone toss me the popcorn?
Yes. So before I started Avant-Garde Physiotherapy, I worked with a couple of hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And then in one of the hospitals where I worked, my former employer called me to his office and he said, "What do you do to your patients? Why are they always on a high after they're done with you?"
Wow.
Not only we see results, they also come back telling me nice things about you. So my patients were going back to my employer and telling him that, they liked my work, they liked my person and all that. So I decided to do my own research, because he had told me and I wanted to go back and find out what exactly they were saying. And then I heard things like, I feel like I can trust you. I feel like I can tell you anything. I'm comfortable with you. You have a good aura. Those kinds of feedback. And I understand the impact of psychology when it comes to physical rehabilitation. I know that your mind has a part to play. And I'm big on partnership when it comes to taking care of patients.
Now I feel like booking a session.
And one way to get your patients buy-in is for them to be able to trust you, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I'm an empath. So that also plays out in the way that I do my work. So I'm, literally just using my strength at work.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. And it seems like you really, really enjoy your job. Of course, like you really do. Were you always sure about being a physiotherapist? What drew you, into this line of work?
So I would say that I love people. I was sure that I wanted to help people. And at the time when I wanted to get into med school, I was thinking, how can I help people? How can I, treat people but not come in contact with so much blood? No, don't go yet. So I got into med school and I came in contact with a lot of blood. So it didn't quite work. But yes, I care about people, and that's my own way of serving people, with my strength, that I would say.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so physiotherapy is not a runaway from...
It's not necessarily. Not necessarily. Depends on where you're practicing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, for example, in a burns unit, surgical unit where you have to treat patients who have had burns, I don't want to go into the details, but you can see a lot of... I'm just giving you an example. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, it's good to know.
You're welcome.
We cannot lie. COVID has hit us. Or COVID did, show the world a different side, I guess. Not I guess, true. And it's affected a lot of healthcare providers. It's been, we've seen many people complain. So for you as a physiotherapist, how has this affected your work? Because you need to touch people, you need to see them. I feel you need to hold them and say, "Oh yeah, do the bone like this." I don't know. I'm just tipping it.
Okay.
Yeah. So how has this affected you, to be honest?
Okay. Great question. So at the time that the pandemic hit, I was actively seeing my patients physically. And what that meant was that I had to now stop seeing my patients physically, because we only patients were not open. I mean, there was social distancing. You couldn't even really go anywhere. There was a lockdown and all that. And before that, so let me backtrack a little. Before that, I had some virtual sessions with some of my patients before the pandemic. I mean, this was probably like 3-4 years ago. I'll give an example. Yes. So maybe I saw into the future.
You did.
And I had a patient who had a hip replacement, and we had some difficulties getting his quadriceps, the muscles in the front of his thigh, to work. And we had done, all the things that we'd usually do, but it wasn't quite picking up as quickly as we wanted it to. And so I suggested that he try out hydrotherapy. At the time, we didn't have a hydrotherapy pool where I was practicing. So we decided that he would, find a pool around his house. I don't think he had a pool in his house, so he had to use his friend's house. And then we would do a video, and I'll show him a couple of exercises that he could do underwater. I kid you not. When we introduced hydrotherapy, his recovery became faster.
Oh, wow.
So we had done telehealth. So I'm just saying that we don't have to touch the patient for you to have results in physiotherapy. I would say again that physiotherapy is a partnership between the patient and the therapist. And when you have that partnership, it means that the patient takes responsibility. You're not just waiting for somebody to move you and touch you. If you can, you do the moving yourself. And that kind of empowers you, don't you think?
It does. Because, you feel like you're more in control,
yes,
rather than someone saying, "I want you to move the hand like this."
When you can. I mean, there are times when you definitely need someone to move, that part of your body. And that's a completely different thing. But when you can, you want to encourage the patient to do what they can by themselves.
So if I get you correctly, the COVID pandemic, can I say as it were, because we're still dealing
still
with
in the middle of it,
third wave, I would say affected you, but then didn't discourage you from practicing. You still found a way around getting work done and seeing results. But what about the people in your industry? Do you think they were affected?
I'm sure that, I didn't get to see all my patients, for example. So it wasn't like I saw everyone, but there were people who I could see online. I'll give an example. I already had, for a patient that I already started seeing and traveled to the UK, was stuck in the UK, couldn't come back because of the lockdown. So we now had to go virtual, and we're having our sessions virtual. She was familiar with her routine, so, we just continued with her sessions. Something interesting happened, and that was when I decided that Avant-Garde had to go
live.
Yes, that was when I was, that was more like a confirmation, more like my conviction that telehealth, especially for physiotherapy, works. So someone called me, and she says she had a friend who had this really bad neck pain, and the pain was radiating to her arm. She couldn't sleep, she couldn't sit, she was just very uncomfortable. And this was right in the middle of the lockdown. She was afraid of getting infected with COVID. And so just like everybody else, she was at home, but now was so uncomfortable. And we set up a virtual session.
A quick call.
Yes. And then after 3 sessions, her pain level went from, I think it was 8/10 at the time. It had gone from 8/10 to about 1/10, 3 sessions.
Interesting.
Yes, we have the testimonial. So it works. I'm just saying that I didn't touch her. She had a pinched nerve. Many times you expect, but because she was at home and she cooperated, I could see her space and the things that were wrong. We made some lifestyle modifications, things that would have caused the pain in the first place. We took care of all of those, and then the outcome was great.
So shout out to if you are a physio listening to this podcast, run, look for Oluchi, look for Avant-Garde, and plug yourself in. Because I know a couple of people, physiotherapists, that just felt like, because they couldn't see their patients anymore, then they couldn't practice. I hope Avant-Garde has a space for physios.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Also, globally, I saw that Africans, physiotherapists in Africa, or how would I even put this word or this English? Anyway, 1% of the physios come from Africa. Just 1%. Just 1%. To show you that the numbers are low. Like, how is Africa making up just 1%, of everybody? That's ridiculous, if you ask me, because we're even the largest population. So what would you say the problems are? Why are we not taking up our place and our space globally? And how can we tackle this problem?
So I think that there's a lot of work to be done with awareness. I'll start with even from schools. So when people are making their choice about what to study, what field to go into, or what field of healthcare to go into, many times they probably don't even know that.
Physiotherapy?
Yes. So I get that question, what is physiotherapy? And it's a legit question. It's obvious that the awareness is not as strong as it should be in Africa, right? I did read up somewhere that we also have less, very few institutions that provide education in physiotherapy in Africa. I mean, in Nigeria, we do have quite a number. And yes. But now the problem is when we now train physiotherapists, a large percentage of them leave the shores of Africa.
Bang, bang, bang.
That's another problem. So you train them and then they leave. And so we still come back to fewer people who are practicing physiotherapy in Africa.
So for starters, I would say that everybody wants more money.
Yes.
And physiotherapy to me does not look like a lucrative thing, because even as a human being, me particularly, I never knew about physiotherapy until 2019.
There you go.
When my mom, for her 50th birthday, decided that she wanted to see a bunch of special children in a center. And when I was asking someone in Unilag, their med school, I was like, okay, what can we do? She's like, oh, they would need physio. I said, physio, what's that? And then she explained it to me. So we got a bunch of physios, to examine, or I don't know, whatever they were doing with the children. It sure worked. So why should we go into physio? What are the areas of living that would require physical therapy? Because maybe now, as I said, me just talking to you, I want a session, but I don't know. Like, so how? What area? Because if more people see the need for physiotherapy, there would be more people going into the space. I mean, fintech is a good example. See, now one person have reached unicorn status. Now we have how many other fintech organizations? So maybe if one person, really shows the way, it would have a lot of more people rise and actually now get into the space where they're doing amazing stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. There's so much untapped potential in physiotherapy. So your question is why, would I want to do physiotherapy, or why would I need a physiotherapist?
Exactly.
Right? If you have a body, you need one form of physiotherapy or the other.
Really?
There is the preventative form of physiotherapy. I'll give you an example. You use a chair, right? Are you sure that the chair is ergonomic? What's the cause of your back pain?
But what is even an ergonomic chair?
It's a chair that supports you when you sit, that is suited for you to, to sit, and then it takes the shape of your body, gives your body that support that is required when you sit on it,
So
without you coming
everybody-
down with any musculoskeletal. I mean, if you sit on it and you don't come down with musculoskeletal problems, that's pains and aches and all that, if you have the proper support while sitting.
If I get it correctly, does it mean that everybody should have a special chair for them?
Everybody should have a special chair for them. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can modify the chair that you're sitting on so that it supports your back the way that your back needs to be supported when you sit.
Interesting.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, for example, you might have a regular chair. You might not have the funds to get an ergonomic chair, because some of them might be expensive. But you can modify your chair such that it gives you the support that you need. You can use like a lumbar roll. You can use, a rolled up towel, place it at your back so that your spine is supported, and then you don't come down with back pain.
Wow, just that one example is making me think, because I don't think the chair I'm using.
Have you been normalizing your pain?
I probably have been normalizing. Oh wow. I mean, why do I feel put on the spot?
I'm sorry.
Why are you putting me on the spot, please? Okay, so really, I think there's a huge need for physical therapy. And now you just shared one example of back pain.
Many others.
The way we sleep. Oh Lord. Interesting.
The pillows that you use, the mattresses that you use, and these are like lifestyle, right?
We're not even getting into other areas. This is just lifestyle. Wow. So please, I think you need to do more, really. And that's going to lead me to my next question of how are you already doing more, or how do you intend to do more in creating awareness first and then really serving the people? Because today now I also can check my chair to be sure that I'm using the right one. I also check my bedspread, like to be sure that I'm sleeping well. Because really, this is what in the future now causes things like, let's say, arthritis, for example. Or then I don't know what the back pain problem is or something.
Yeah, very different types, but yeah.
Yeah.
But let's just leave it at back pain because it kind of covers up for every other
everything.
thing.
Do you get? And then I'm like spending so much more on my health, on something that could have been prevented if I had access to good information, if I had access to quality care from someone like you. So let's just talk about how you are already doing this and how you will continue to do this.
Yes. Currently we are on social media and we're putting out, helpful tips on via Instagram for now, and then LinkedIn. And then we're looking to launch our web app at the end of the month. And then that way we will have a number of information being put out there because we're having blogs there. People can get to see content that would help them, preventive measures that they can take so that they don't come down with injury or diseases and all that. So that's what we're looking at doing now. Yeah.
So that's amazing. I would say that you are using technology.
Technology, absolutely.
Wow. It's interesting that so many, the change we're looking for really lies in technology. And I would say again that Avant-Garde is doing an amazing work. And thank you so much for bringing so much enlightenment and awareness to this show. I'm going to be sticking my neck out, looking for you guys everywhere to be sure on what I need to do, how I can live better so that I'm not, dealing with some form of issues in the coming future. And I'll just say let's end on a note, right? What's the one thing, or we've said so many things, but what's the one thing you want to tell people in the space of physiotherapy or physical therapy?
In the space of physiotherapy now, to the physiotherapists or to the patients?
To both. Just
both.
Speak to us.
Okay, so there's so much. Physiotherapy is a lot more than we already know. There's so much that physiotherapy has to offer. It's a vastly untapped space. And just be open to everything that comes along, as Avant-Garde continues to evolve. You get to see new aspects of physiotherapy. We're happy to do this. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Oluchi, once again for joining us on today's show. I mean, I'm very grateful to everybody listening. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to share this, because everybody needs to know where the bug has been biting them. That's what I will say, because it's been a lot. Like, I mean, now I'm even thinking about my life, so and I've seen ways that I'm going to help myself.
Absolutely.
Really.
That's the most important thing.
Yes, help myself. So thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm grateful to everybody that has listened to this podcast. Thank you. We'll catch you in the next episode.
You're welcome.